It's your open source advocate, and I'm back with another video, and today I want to talk about ITTools. Now, a lot of the other creators have covered this in the past, and it's been months since I've seen a few of them do it, but it's one of those things that I've just kind of sat on. I don't know why I didn't cover it. I think it's a really awesome set of tools, and it's actually very useful. So I'm going to go through this and talk to you about why I find it useful and how you might find it useful as well as you're getting into home labbing. Maybe you already got a home lab going. Maybe you do these things all the time. Maybe you're an IT professional. Maybe you're a developer. These tools can help you in all kinds of different areas and different ways. And it's really an amazing system. I think you'll find it super beneficial. The best thing is it is super simple to get this up and running. So I'll go through all the steps for all the beginners, but for you guys that are a little bit more advanced, I'll have timestamps down in the description so you can jump ahead to the installation process and just kind of see what's going on there. We're going to get into it right after this. I just want to say thank you so much to all my patrons over at Patreon for supporting me, for continuing to support me in this content. It just means the world to me that you do that every month, that it really makes a difference. So thank you so very much. For all the people that do buy me a beer, buy me a coffee as a one-off over on PayPal, man, I appreciate it. Really do. I try to send you a message. Sometimes PayPal lets me. Most of the time it tells me I can't message you for some reason. But I do want you to know I truly appreciate it, and I just can't say thank you enough for that. For everybody that subscribes over at YouTube, thank you so much. You help the channel grow. You help other people find amazing open source software by doing that. So if you haven't done so, go down and click on the subscribe button, click on the little bell so you get notifications about new amazing open source software that's coming out. And then click on that thumbs up to let YouTube know that you like this video and other people might get to see it as well. All right, without further ado, let's get into ITTools. So if you're asking yourself, what is this ITTools thing? It's really just a whole bunch of tools that can be used for IT work, MSP work, development work, for all kinds of things. But if you're a person who runs a home lab and you like to set up applications the way that I do, you'll find that a lot of these tools are going to be extremely helpful and extremely handy. And there may be some in here that I just didn't realize you might be needing and you didn't realize were available. So first is the token generator. So you click on each of these items. I'm just going to go through this. This is the one I installed on my system to test with, and then we'll go through the installation together here in just a little bit. But I want to kind of go through these and show you what you can do. So as you click on the token generator, you can say, do I want uppercase? Do I want numbers? Do I want lowercase? Do I want symbols? And if you just uncheck one of these, it adjusts exactly the thing that you're going to get. Now, what we have to do all the time is create a JWT token for a lot of the applications that we run. So instead of actually going to the command line and doing that, you could just have ITTools open in a separate tab, jump over here, tell it what you want. Usually we want 32 characters, so you just drop this little slider down to 32. If I can hit it, there we go. And there's a token, and you can highlight and copy, or you can just click on copy. You can refresh to get a new one, and it keeps all of your settings. It's really super handy. I've copied it. There we go. I've got a token. Pretty simple, pretty amazing. Now, you can navigate here on the left side, and there's a lot. So it scrolls for a long ways. There are just literally dozens of tools here. I'm going to go back to the home screen just because it's a little bit bigger, a little bit easier to see. I do have this zoomed in, so be aware of that. I've got this up at like 130% right now. So just be aware, it is a little bit large on my screen. Normally it wouldn't be quite this big if you have good vision. I do this partially for people like me with not so great vision and for the people on their mobile devices, so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Now, if you need to hash text, you can come here and you can type in something and you can hash that. So if I type in, my password is now hashed. Now, hashing a password is not the best thing to do, but here's your MD5 hash, your SHA1 hash, your SHA2, SHA224, 512, 384. I mean, you've got so many different ways of getting these hashes done. Now, you can do hexadecimal base 16, base 64 hashing, and base 4 URL hashing. So if we switch it to base 64, you see all of these things get updated. And if I switch it back to, let's go back to this one, base 16, you see they update again. So very easy to kind of hash some text if you need to. I'm not going to go through every tool here. So bcrypt is great for if you're trying to encrypt different things like passwords, for instance. UUID generator, you might need to create a unique identifier, and this can help you just generate one for something if you ever need it. You've got a couple of different kinds there. You've got encrypt and decrypt text. Now, this is super lo-fi, I guess is the best way to put it, but you could type in something like, my favorite movie is Groundhog Day. Okay? And you can see what's happening is it's creating this hash down here. Now, I can tell it, I want to use an actual secret key, and I could say something great. And then I share this secret key with my friend. I send that secret key to my friend, and I send this message to my friend. And I tell my friend, hey, it was AES. He can then go in and just reverse this. So if I copy this, and I paste it down here, and I copy this, and I paste it here, you can see there is the message that I sent. So you can encrypt and decrypt messages, but you can see how encrypting and decrypting messages works using these different algorithms and how the keys work. I think it's valuable just for learning and understanding things as much as it is a tool you might actually use, but super, super great. All right, continuing on, we've got so many really cool things here. I don't want to go through everything, but you kind of get the idea of what's happening. So you've got RS key pair generator. This is super helpful because maybe you want to create keys for your SSH system and you want to just jump in here, grab those keys, put them in place. So here's your public key. Here's the private key. So you've got the key pair. So what happens is you put the private key, you keep the private key actually on your computer. You put the public key out on a server you want to access. What happens is your computer calls that server and it says, hey, I've got a key here, and it hands that private key over and it says, this is my key, and this compares it to this public key, and it goes, oh yeah, you should be allowed to access this system. Really great. Here you can see that we've got 2048 bits. You can knock this down to 256 bits. You can bring this up to 4096 bits if you want. So it's kind of up to you. I mean, it does it automatically on its own, and it's really, really cool. I love that you can do this. So you can see that it took a second for it to do 4096. That's a pretty heavy key, but yeah, I mean, 2048 is where it defaults. You can do 1024. Still pretty great and difficult to hack. So just be aware, RS key pair generation is amazing. Let's look at a little bit more of this stuff. PDF signature verification, password strength analyzer. I think this is a great one. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you what I type. So if I just type random stuff, the longer I get, oh, I'm not typing. There we go. Let me type. So as I type down here, you can see that this says score is 14 out of 100. Here's the entropy. So how random is it basically? If I just keep going, now you can start to see how long it thinks it would take for it to basically do this. 6 centuries. I mean, that's a long time. I don't really understand the millennia part, but I think it's doing 2 different calculations, baby. This is still a long time, 600 years, okay? So millennia is 1,000 years, so it thinks it would take a long time. Now that's just a random thing. So if I write an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So this says 8 decades because it thinks, hey, that's a really easy thing with no upper lower. But look at this, it says millennia. And really and truly they've said, like, hey, if you just pick a phrase that you know, that you like, that you can remember, and you make it long, it's very hard for somebody to crack that. So I think that's correct as well. This is one of the ways I suggest that you do it if you can. 3 words that have nothing to do with each other that are kind of long, and a number is also a really good kind of passphrase or password. So just know that. You can check out the password strength by using this, and they use a couple of different ways of checking like how hard is this thing to actually crack. I think it's pretty great, and again, really useful for you to kind of check out what are your passwords like. As we go down, so you've got date-time converters. Those could be really useful for all kinds of things. You've got integer-based converter. Roman numeral converter is not something I would really use a lot, but sometimes I kind of wonder. So like this year, I think it's Super Bowl LX. Well, L, I think, is 50, X is 10, so if you add those together, 60. But if you don't remember those things, then you might want to check out and say, like, what does this Roman numeral mean? Or you might want to know, what's the Roman numeral equivalent of 97? You'd have to go look it up. Base64 encoder. You've got text to ASCII and binary. Very cool. Text to NATO alphabet. So again, really cool. If we do this, so this is what it looks like. My dog would be Mike Yankee Delta Oscar Golf. Okay, so it just helps you put that into a phonetic way where somebody can understand. Like if you're trying to spell something in the English language, especially, a lot of the letters can sound the same and a lot of the numbers can sound the same. So on TV, when you see an FBI agent or a police officer saying something like this, they're spelling it in a way that the person knows, well, that word starts with this letter and that word starts with this letter, and they're basically spelling out what they need. Very simple, but still useful. If you need to get something broken out, you can. Let's go down and YAML to TOML, YAML to JSON, all these things that convert different scripting languages to other scripts. Very, very useful. You've got Markdown to HTML. This could be super useful if you do Markdown content and you want to turn that into an HTML page. Maybe you're good at Markdown, but you're not great at HTML. Go do Markdown and then convert it using this tool, and then you can put that into a web browser and let other people check it out as well. So your basic auth generator, just something to help you create some basic authentication credentials. Device information, this shows you the device information for the device that you're on. Your URL parser helps you parse out a URL. It does exactly what it says. So you can check out all these things. You can check out all of these different tools. I mean, there are so many tools in this thing. Here's an HTML WYSIWYG editor. So this is a what you see is what you get editor. And you can see I was kind of messing with it earlier to see what it would do. It's not exactly perfect because this is supposed to be a code block and not a bunch of separate code lines, but you get the idea that it can actually kind of deal with those things. So if we go back down, HTML WYSIWYG editor right there. So we've got user agent parser. So if you're wondering like what user agent am I using for something, and that can be useful for a lot of applications that we run as self-hosters. QR code generator, super useful. If you've ever tried to set up a QR code for your Wi-Fi hotspot or anything like that, these kind of things can help you generate those codes. If you have a URL you want somebody to go to and you just want to send them a QR code to keep it easy, definitely, this is a great tool that can help you do that. Here's a Git cheat sheet. So if you've never used Git and you're wondering like, how do I do things in Git? This is a great way to do it. SVG placeholder generator. I don't know why you would need this, but there it is. This is your Wi-Fi QR code generator. So you've got the regular QR code generator and the Wi-Fi QR code generator. Your camera recorder. So take a picture or record a video from your webcam or camera. So just a quick way to go and get to something that can do that for you pretty quickly if you need to. Random port generator, cron tab generator, which is this is actually super useful because if you wanted to do something, just really helpful to know like, hey, I'm trying to get something done. Now this doesn't seem like a cron tab generator to me. This seems more like, give me cron information and I'll tell you what it means. So I don't know. To me, it's not a generator. It's more of a translator. But if I were to change this to 30 space 1 space star space star space star, it's going to say at 1:30 every day. So it tells me that I've done this. So this is minutes, hours, day, I believe. Can't remember. But if we go put 1 star, so there we go. And this is month, so day, month, and I believe day of week. Yes, only on Tuesday, only in January. So this is day of week, this is month, and then this is day, like the date, 1 through 31 essentially. So if I go back and I put on the 31st, star. So on the 31st of the month at 1:30, that's it. So only about 5 months would get this, maybe 6, and that's it. It would only happen on those days. But there you go. This tells you exactly what it's going to do. It's very useful. And it's useful for you to understand how cron works because, again, we do a lot of things in cron, and cron is a super powerful tool. I think this is a really nice one. I'd love to see something where I could pick, here's what I want, here's how often, all that kind of stuff, and it would give me the cron expression. That would be better. Maybe they have that down there. I just haven't gotten to it yet, but yeah. OTP code generator. So if you need something to generate OTP codes, you've got that. MIME types, you've got JWT parser. So if you have a JWT token, you can get that to parse it out. User agent parser we talked about already. There's the cron tab generator, JSON, prettify, and format. So sometimes you get JSON, it's a big ugly string or something, it's just not formatted well. You can put it in here and format it, really great. JSON to CSV, SQL prettify and format. Sometimes you do that. Docker run to Docker compose. So I use a site called Composerize, but this is really great to see that this is here. It's pretty cool. So you can see here's a Docker run, and I'm sure that this is going to be for who knows what. It's going to use Nginx, so it's starting up Nginx, and then here's our Docker compose for Nginx. I think that's awesome. They should probably fix it so it doesn't give you the version because they don't use version anymore. But yeah, I mean, still a useful tool. Pretty cool. Let's see, let's go over here to the left. Can I get caught up with where I'm at? There it is. So you've got your XML formatter. YAML prettify, you've got email normalizer. I don't really know what that does. You got a regex tester, so if you ever use regular expressions, you can check this and make sure it's good. You've got your regular expression cheat sheet as well. IPv4 subnet calculator. This is kind of a cool one. So if I said I don't want that to be 24, I want it to be 12. So I put that in and it says, okay, here's the net mask, here's the network address, here's my network mask. Here's the network mask in binary. You've got a lot of really great stuff here. What I would love to see is like what range of addresses can I use with this now, because I don't feel like I know that information. So that's the one thing that seems to be missing from that for me. So yeah, just be aware. IPv4 address converter. So if you want to convert the address to something else, you can. Range extender, so if you need to extend the range, you can somehow do that. MAC address lookups, super useful in a lot of cases where you have hardware and you're like, okay, I need to find out what vendor this is, and you just don't have the label for it or something. You can type that in and kind of find out the information about that. You've got math evaluators, ETA calculators, percentage calculators, a chronometer, temperature converter, so useful because, you know, Fahrenheit to Celsius is not super easy, and in the US we use Fahrenheit because, you know, we got to do everything the difficult way. Lorem ipsum generator, so if you just need some fill-in text, you've got it right there. Text statistics, emoji picker. I mean, just a lot of really little cool tools that could be very, very useful for you to use in an IT or other fashion. So you've seen all this. How do you get it running? It is super, super simple. And actually, I'm going to go back to that Docker tool. Let me see, is there a search? I hope there's a search because this thing's long. No search. I can't believe that. Oh yeah, there's search right there. Docker. There we go. So we'll go there. So if you come to the ITTools repository, I'll have this linked in the show notes in the description. You can see that there is a Docker run command. Now, he gives you a couple of things. If you want to run it from Docker Hub, you can. If you want to run it from the GitHub repository, you can. He has it in both places. All you got to do is copy this Docker run. We're going to go back to our little Docker, to our ITTools system that we're running here. And we'll just paste this in. And you see it gives us a nice little Docker command. Now, we don't need this one, so what we'll do is we'll grab all of this. We're going to copy that. We're going to use that here in just a minute. Now, first we need to set up a server. So I'm going to do Control-Shift-N, and I'm going to show you how to do this from scratch. So for all the people who know how to set up your server or already have Docker installed and everything like that, feel free to jump ahead, use the description of the timeline below. For everybody else, stick with me because we're going to go through this step by step, and I'll let you see how I'm doing this. And you don't have to use the kind of server I'm using, a virtual server. You can use the machine in front of you. You can use a server out there on DigitalOcean. I really like them a lot. I have an affiliate link down in the description if you want to save a little money to try them out. Go use that. It gives you a credit, gives me a credit if you stick with them. If you don't, it's okay. But if you stick with them and you start paying them, I'll get a credit too, and it really helps out. All right, so let's get this started. This video is sponsored by me. That's right. Did you know that I wrote a novel? I did. And it's a science fiction novel. It follows a guy named Dave who's a pretty normal guy with a normal job who happens to fall into a little bit of a less normal job but doesn't realize it. He goes on some incredible adventures. He has some really cool things that he has to get done. It's just a passion project. I think you're going to love it. It's an action. It's an adventure. It's just so much fun. I understand if you don't want to do Patreon or PayPal, but maybe you'd like to get something out of some money that you're donating back to me. So by buying a book, you're paying me back, and at the same time, you're getting something out of it. You can jump over to Amazon. I'll have links in the description. You can jump over and get the ebook, the paperback, or the hardcover. I'll have links for as many countries as I can get links for, so no matter where you are, you can get a copy of the book. It is English only. It has not been translated. I just do want to put that out there, but I hope you'll get it. I hope you'll enjoy it. And let me know that you enjoyed it as well. Now let's get back to the program. So here I've got my tools up that I use to create my different virtual machines on all of my different servers. So I'm just going to go over here, and I'm in one of my servers now, and I'm on my container. So I'm going to create a really small virtual machine here. And I'm just going to call this ITTools. You can give it a description if you want to. And then we're going to go down here and just say, let's create it as a container. Let's use my Ubuntu Noble default. This does not have Docker yet. and I'll go through installing Docker and getting everything set up from scratch. Okay, so if we were to start with a fresh server from DigitalOcean, you would follow almost the same process, except creating the server is a slightly different UI, that's all. We're going to go down here, and I'm just going to tell it that I do want it to auto start when I restart my main server. And then for my needs, I have to go down here and tell it nesting true. You won't have to do that if you're on DigitalOcean. If you're using LexC or LexD, then you have to tell it nesting true, or Incus like I am. So we're going to do that, and we will see that show up right here. I'm just going to put a check mark there, and I'm going to tell it to start that server. While that's starting up, I'm going to jump over here, and I'm going to jump to the exec console. I'm going to connect to it, and it started up already. It's very fast. I'm going to scroll up here, and my editor is going to help me out by zooming in on this for you guys, so it'll make it a little bit easier for you to see. Right here, I'm just first going to run the updates and upgrades on this server. This is an important step, and you really need to do this anytime you create a new server. So apt update, 2 ampersands, apt upgrade, and then -y. That's how you do that on a Ubuntu based server, which is what I'm using. If you happen to be on Fedora, Red Hat, CentOS, any of those, you would just do DNF update -y. Okay, and that will update any of your Fedoras, Red Hats, any of those. But on the Ubuntu, Debian, any of those spins, you want to do apt update 2 ampersands apt upgrade -y. We're going to let that run. It's just going to take a few minutes, and then we'll be back. Alright, that completed, so we're doing well. Now I'm going to clear this out, and I'm going to just scroll back up a little bit so you can see my terminal here. The next thing I need to do is I need to add my user really quick. So I want to add a non-root user who has super user privileges. This is a little bit more safe than just using root. So right now you can see we're logged in as root. We don't want to stay like that. So I'm going to do add user, and then Brian is the username I want to use. You would type in whatever username you want. I'm going to give myself a password here, a nice long strong password, and then I'm going to repeat it. And then you don't have to fill this in, you can, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to hit enter all the way down. And now I'm going to add my user to a group. So I'm going to say user mod -a capital G sudo is the group I want to add my user to, and Brian. Now if you're on Red Hat, Fedora, CentOS, the group you want to use is wheel, W-H-E-E-L. Instead of sudo, you want to use wheel, okay? We've done this. I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm part of the super user group. Now because this is a tiny container, I also have to add a little bit more software to it because it's very intentionally meant to be a very minimal thing. So I have to add the stuff that I want. You may not have to do this, but it won't hurt you to type it in and see if it's already there. Again, if you're using Red Hat, Fedora, CentOS, you would type DNF install and then list out the software I'm about to list out. But since this is a Ubuntu based spin, we're going to do apt install. We're going to do git wget curl nano and open ssh-server and then space -y. So we want all of those pieces of software, and we're just telling it don't prompt me, just go and install them. Shouldn't take very long, and it's done. Now I'm going to reboot this server with the reboot command. And once it reboots, I'm going to go back over here to its main information page, and I'll get an IPv4 address, and we will SSH over to that server. Alright, 145. Let's go see that guy. So I'm going to increase the font size just a little bit for you guys. So if you want to SSH to a server, you go to your command line, you type in SSH, the username you just created, and then the @ symbol, and then the IP address of that server. Now, I've logged into this server before, so it's telling me, hey, you've already got a key for this server IP. I haven't logged into this server, but I've logged into a server with this IP, and it sees that they're different, so it's warning me. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell it, remove the old one from the list. It's fine. And then I'm going to go back to the SSH command and try again. It's going to say, hey, okay, now do you trust the fingerprint? Yes, because I'm trying to connect to it. I'm going to put in the super user password I just gave, and I am now logged in as Brian on the server that we set up for ITTools. We got to do a little bit more setup, but we are almost there. So now we need to install Docker. So we're going to do curl https://get.docker.com, and then the pipe, the vertical line symbol, and then space sh. We're going to run this. It's going to prompt us for our super user password. And then it's going to go through and install Docker, Docker Compose, and a few other things that we want on the system for us. Again, give it a little bit of time. It should only take a few minutes, and then it should be finished. All right, that probably took about 15-20 seconds, and it's done. And one of the things it warns you about is like, hey, this has to be done as a root user or super user. Anytime you do that, you need to use the sudo command. We're going to fix that. So I'm going to clear this out. We're going to add our user to one more group. Now this time we have to do sudo user mod -a capital G, and we're going to add them to the Docker group, and their name is Brian. In this case, you would use the one you picked, and that's done. Now we need to do one more thing. We need to exit, and we're just going to SSH right back into that same server, and all that does is tell it, hey, the new group that I just added Brian to should now take effect. I can test that by doing Docker PS, and you should see these kind of header lines with nothing under it. If you don't have anything running in Docker yet, that's what you should see. Now we're going to make a directory to keep our ITTools project in. So we're going to do mkdir space -p docker/ITTools. That's a hard one to type. ITTools. There we go. Now, what this says is make the directory Docker if it doesn't exist, but if it does, use that one. And then inside of that, make the directory ITTools if it doesn't exist. If it does, just use that one. So let's make the directory using this path. That's the -p. There we go. We're done. We're going to cd docker/ITTools, and we're going to do nano compose.yaml. So this is going to be that compose file that we generated a while ago inside of our ITTools install. So we're going to go back over here, and we're just going to copy this text, remember, all the way up to the services level. We're going to do Control-C. We're going to go back to here. We're going to do Control-Shift-V, like Victor, to paste that in. And we can go up and clean up the spacing a little bit. I'm going to put 3 hyphens right above that services line, and then I'm going to bring this back so it's only 2 spaces in. I just want things indented 2 spaces from each other. It makes it a little bit easier to read. Oops. And right here. There. So this is a very, very simple Docker Compose, okay? It says we're going to start the service called Corinth, I don't know. We can change this. We can change this to be called app. We can change this to be called whatever we want. It doesn't matter. So app is simple. It's going to use the GHCR.io image from the ITTools repository, and it's going to use the latest image available, which means that when they update it, we're going to go grab the newest update and get that running. On the ports, he forwards port 8080 from the host to 80 inside of the container. This right side you don't ever want to change unless you really know what you're doing. But this left side, if on the host system you're already using port 8080 for something, which 8080 is a pretty common port for web applications, if you're using that already, you can change this left side port. So let's just change this to be 8038. I don't know, why not? Okay, that's not a common port that anybody would use, so it should be open and hopefully no problems. So I'm just going to remember 8038. We're going to restart this application if it stops, unless we stop it. If it fails, it's going to restart on its own. If the server reboots, it's going to restart on its own, unless we have intentionally given it the command to be stopped. In that case, it won't restart until we restart it. So I like this version of restart. It's really good. The container name itself is going to be IT-tools, which is fine. We're going to save our changes with Control-O and Enter. We're going to exit with Control-X. And we're going to do a Docker space compose pull. This just says, hey, go out to the repo that I said in that file and pull down the image that I asked for. The image is how we build our virtual machine, our container. Docker is just a virtual machine system. It's just very, very tiny virtual machines made for a very specific purpose. Now we're going to do Docker compose up-d 2 ampersands Docker compose logs-f. And what this says is, Docker compose, I want you to bring up the container from the image and run it detached in the background as a daemon. And after that, I want you to use Docker compose to show me the log output, and I want to follow those logs live as they're being generated. That's what the -f is for. So we're going to hit enter. And it starts it up very quickly, and you can see right here that it gives us a bunch of output, and it says, hey, I'm starting all these worker processes, so it's doing what it's supposed to do, and all we're looking for is, are there any errors? I don't see any errors. We're good. I'm going to hit Control-C a couple of times just to get out of the logs there. I'm going to hit Control-L just to clear out my terminal, and we should be ready to get onto this server and actually check to see if we can access our IT tool. So I'm going to do IP-BR-4A. That's going to show me just my IP address so I can remember it. It's 145, and we did port 8038. So we need to keep those two numbers in mind. We'll go back over here. Let's just open up an incognito window. How about just to prove it's not loading from a cache or something. There we go. We'll go to 192.168.10.145:8038, just like that. And there we go. There's our ITTools install up and running. There's really not a lot to it. There's nothing for it to save off to the disk. It just provides these tools for you. You can go in and use them whenever you need to use them. I mean, it is really just such a simple tool, and such a really great tool. So if we wanted to generate some lorem ipsum, we could say like how many paragraphs. I want 3 paragraphs. There's our lorem ipsum paragraphs. We could, set up all kinds of things. I mean, this is just filler text to help you fill something in like a placeholder. That's all lorem ipsum is. So if you're not sure what that is, that's what it's for. If you went down here and you said, you know what, I need a password checker or something like that, you could go find that. If you wanted to do YAML to TOML, let's see, do I have my YAML still? Yes. So there's my YAML. Here's what TOML would look like. You can just convert it. If you said, I want to go, where else is YAML? YAML to JSON. Click in there, paste in your YAML, and there's your JSON, and that's what it would look like. Very straightforward, very simple. I think this is an incredibly powerful set of tools. I can zoom this up, and then I can just see my converted stuff down below. Man, I mean, such a useful set of tools. I just wanted to share this with you guys. You may have seen this on other channels already. Hopefully you're already out there using it if you have, but if you're not, get this set up. It's very low on resource usage. It is super great, and it's a really handy tool to have. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it so they can come along on the open source journey with us, and I'll talk to you next time.